Optimism is a really strong predictor of like, are you going to be adaptive? Are you going to have a future? Well, if you're optimistic and you believe you control your future, you're more likely to adapt tools and technologies and I think find your way in a future that is very, very unpredictable.
In today's conversation, we're going to explore what it really means to humanize the experience of work and why, in an age of AI, that mission has never mattered more. This is The Edge of Human and AI, a Viva la Coaching podcast. We sit right where coaching meets AI, and we're not afraid to ask the uncomfortable questions. We built this show because the coaching landscape is being reshaped by intelligent systems, and the organizations, leaders, and companies shaping that future deserve honest conversations. I'm your host, Rebecca Rutschman. Each week, we'll help you understand how AI is transforming coaching. We discuss leadership development and human growth across organizations. We will help you navigate the ethical and strategic decisions that come with bringing AI into the coaching space. You'll hear from researchers, innovators, and industry leaders, as well as experts who are reimagining what's possible. Whether you're navigating AI for the first time or already building with it, this is where you belong. Follow us now and join us at vivalacoaching.com. Come stand with us at the edge. We're starting our podcast with a special season from the leading voices of the NYU Coaching and Technology Summit 2026. We will bring you bold, unfiltered conversations at the frontier where coaching meets technology and artificial intelligence. Expect real talk, sharp minds, and unfiltered conversations where we dare to ask the difficult questions. My guest is Woodward, Chief Coaching Officer at BetterUp, organizational psychologist, co-author of The Digital Coaching Revolution, and one of the people with the widest view of our profession right now. We'll discover what BetterUp's 4 million coaching sessions have actually taught us about what great coaching looks like, and why the data shows that people who engage with AI coaching tools are 30% more likely to also engage with their human coach. And we'll hear what Martin Seligman, the founder of positive psychology, told Woody that I think every coach needs to hear right now. Hi, Woody. It's amazing to be with you today here, and I have a lot of questions. I hope you're ready.
I am very ready. It's exciting to be here with you, Rebecca.
So what do you think our listeners should know about you before we get started?
I guess I don't know if the short version is I started my career as an organizational psychologist and have spent about 17 years as a professional executive coach on my own and doing a lot of retainer work with large companies, and found my way into academia in the beginning of 2020, right before the pandemic, if I'm allowed to say the P word or the C word, the COVID word.
Good timing, though.
Yeah, it was great timing, I guess. And went to New York University to build out and launch a Master of Science degree in executive coaching and organizational consulting. So it was a chance meeting with a woman named Anna Tavis at a conference, I think in 2018. We got to chatting about this idea and we stayed in touch. And I was very fortunate that she brought me on board to build out, launch it, and lead it. And it was a very exciting time because in the US, professional coach training and education, I think, lags behind certainly the UK, Europe to some extent, and Australia. And so it was a really important moment, I think, professionally for me to be part of contributing to, I think, advancing the field and the profession here in North America. And so, yeah, I spent 5 years. And during that time, I got the opportunity to co-create and co-lead the NYU Coaching and Technology Summit, which I know we're going to talk about. And that was a really fun opportunity. And that's how I met you, if you recall, when we launched that summit, because the idea was we wanted to create a space for these emerging digital and tech players in the coaching and human development space, because there was no one place for them to go that was dedicated to really to coaching as a profession and to the influence that the digital players and the tech providers really had on the space. And so we could kind of play neutral as a university, as a place to bring these folks together. And so Anna and I thought, what a great opportunity. And I proceeded to get out on LinkedIn and start pinging all these different founders of all these tech players. I joke, Rebecca, I was like a LinkedIn panhandler out there, like asking for help and sponsorship and money. And pretty much everyone said yes. Of course, one of our big sponsors was BetterUp and a lot of the other players out there. And that's how I got to know the space really, really well. During that time, we started to really learn about the technology space. And the conference or the summit was a place for myself and Anna and others to learn, and for folks like yourself, innovators in the space, to connect with others that either you didn't know or that you did know, but you got to spend more time with. That was a really exciting time. And as a result of our experiences, we wrote a book called The Digital Coaching Revolution, which was our way of trying to chronicle the emergence of the BetterUps of the world and other players out there, Ezra and CoachHub and Coaching.com and Optify, and what some of the institutional players like your Korn Ferries were doing in the space. So it was a very exciting time. After it was literally 5 years in that role, BetterUp approached me about the opportunity to come on board as their first chief coaching officer. And so, Rebecca, I saw that as an opportunity to, again, have impact on the profession, have impact on the space. And it felt like a really amazing opportunity for me to go to the category creator in the digital coaching space and to really lead the largest coaching network in the world and to have impact on how we continue to evolve the profession. So that's how I got to this point now. And it's been a really, really exciting ride.
And it sounds like you're really good in building something up and like creating the space as well. I think you're one of the people that have probably the best overview of what's happening out there in the market.
Yeah, it's interesting. I sit on the International Coaching Federation's Thought Leadership Institute board, as well as our Global Enterprise board. And in our last board meeting, one of the things I brought out was, look, I do have a lot of different perspectives on the coaching profession because I've sat in a lot of different places. I've been a coach myself. I've been and led coach education. I'm now leading a coaching network and working for a provider of coaching services. I've also done thought leadership and written books and articles in this space, been involved in some coaching research. So yeah, I've been very fortunate that I've had to play a lot of roles. I assume I must not be good at any of them because I keep finding different roles to play. But I think the common thread across that is I really do like to build in the space and do my best to have impact and improve the profession.
In your new role at BetterUp, you're really at the sharp end currently of AI's integration, also into professional coaching, especially in organizations. Is there something exciting that's brewing up there or that you have been working with lately that you're happy to share with us?
First of all, I think everything about my role is exciting. I have to say, it's been such a pleasure and a joy. And I truly mean that, taking on this role at BetterUp. I've been at BetterUp now for like a year and a quarter. I started in January of 2025. So I sunset my time at the end of the fall semester at NYU and then transitioned into this role. And just to give you a little bit of context, the purview of my role includes really being a beacon and a thought leader for our coaching network. So we have 4,000 coaches across the globe, 60 some languages, I think 70 different countries. We span every time zone. So it's really exciting. And so my charge is really the engagement of that community, the continued development of that community. So I have an instructional designer that develops our in-house programs. You've worked with us on some programs that we've provided for coaches because we take their development very seriously and it's all complimentary for our coaches. And I've also helping them become future ready and AI enabled is something that we've spent a lot of time in the last maybe 6 months really putting a lot of effort and energy into. And I can talk more about that later in some of our research in that space. I'm also an ambassador to the ecosystem. As I mentioned, I'm on 2 different ICF global boards. I'm still very involved with NYU and the NYU Coaching and Tech Summit, now as a sponsor, as opposed to running and leading it. Other groups in the space. I know you were recently at IOC. I'm working with Jeffrey Hull there, as well as EMCC. So connected with Miko and those folks because they're doing really great work, I think, and leading the charge in a lot of areas, especially in coach supervision. I also spend a lot of time informing the work that we do here at BetterUp as a coaching professional with someone who has, as you mentioned, multiple perspectives on the space. So advising on how we develop our services, our offerings, our products to make sure that there's a coaching voice in that room. Don't lose sight of it. And also what's so important is our science. So we have an entire labs team dedicated to coaching science. And Rebecca, that's one of the things that probably excited me most coming on board is coming out of academia into a place that has truly dedicated scientists, a lot of organizational psychologists, of course, my original profession. We have behavioral scientists, social scientists, so folks that are really dedicated to the science and the space, and we're continually evolving what we're learning. And so, to your point, we're always learning, right? And we have the largest data set on coaching in the world, 4 million plus sessions we've conducted, and we've learned a lot about coaching from not just coaches, but from those being coached. And that's what's really critically important because so many frameworks and models have been developed around coaches and coaches' experiences and coaches' opinions. We also need to take into account those who are on the receiving side of coaching. And so we have access and capabilities around that data. So a couple of things to answer your question. One is that one of our behavioral scientists, Dr. Hunter Black, who's also an org psychologist and a behavioral scientist, he undertook this endeavor to figure out, okay, based on what we know and the data that we have access to, what does great coaching look like? Now, this is through the BetterUp perspective, of course. And so he was able to take 16,000 individual qualitative data points from members, we call members, people being coached, map those to 2,500 of our coaches where we had data around ratings, whether it's satisfaction, engagement, all the different things we're able to capture. And from that, he distilled a framework of 5 core elements that represent what the experience of coaching looks like from the BetterUp perspective. And it's what we call the guide framework. So this is something we haven't talked a lot about publicly. So happy to share it here.
Yes, please. Guide. I mean, I gotta love it. I'm a mountaineer, so let's go.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you do a lot of really great outdoor stuff. I've seen your posts. I'm always really impressed. So GUIDE stands for guiding the process, G. The U is understanding and context. The I is inquiry and reflection. The D is designing goals and actions. And the E is expanding possibilities. So on the face of it, most of these won't sound unfamiliar. They're what we commonly see across coaching. But the difference is we actually distilled this based on scientific research, right? This isn't something we made up. We've oriented it to create the acronym GUIDE. And so when we think about like the G, guiding the process. So oftentimes when I talk about the idea of guiding, coaches, particularly those with an ICF orientation, get a bit of an allergic reaction. Right? Like, what do you mean guiding? Who's guiding? It's the coachee needs to lead. By guiding the process, what we mean is that our coaches really have to help craft the journey and help the coachee understand the purpose of coaching and what they're there for. Because most people go into coaching not experiencing coaching, never experiencing coaching before, or having some understanding of coaching that might come from sports, or it may come from like an advisor or a consultant. So our coaches have to help those being coached understand what the journey looks like and how it works and how they're going to act as that Sherpa. Not guiding them to a point or a place, but guiding them through the process. It's really important. So that's the G. And we found that as a really common thread in our coaching.
So that's also a little bit more like scaffolding.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Now, the U is understanding and context. So this is about helping foster understanding of where they're coming from. So understanding the context that an individual is operating in is critically important. And a lot of times coaches miss that. So we try to collect as much data and information that we can about the organization, about the work that the person does, their title, their role, so that our coaches are armed with that information going into the session. We ingest it through our AI tools and it gets reflected in the dashboard for the coach. But also the coach has to inquire and understand, right, from the person they're coaching as much about them to kind of level set. And I, as you would say, Rebecca, another part of that scaffolding. And then they got to co-create a trusting environment, right? So that they can start down this journey. The I is inquiry and reflection. And look, these are classic coaching skills. Rebecca, you teach these, you know these, you deploy these. I don't have to spend a lot of time on these, but this is the techniques and tools you use to work with the individual to distill out what's going on, to understand and glean insights, right? And then the D, this is designing goals and actions. Now, I like to tease Hunter. It should really be co-designing goals and actions, but we needed a D to call it guidance.
Okay.
So I'm fine with the D. This is before I came on. The coach is to partner with you to figure out what are you going to go do, right, with what you've learned. Because coaching, particularly in an enterprise context where we're working with organizations at scale, they have some expectation that coaching doesn't live and die in the container of the session, that they're going to go try these experiments and go do things back in the flow of their work. And so as a coach, you have to effectively help the coachee design and figure out how they're going to take what they learned and go do something with it. And then there's the E, which is expanding possibilities. And I would say the E kind of undergirds all of it. Throughout the process, as a coach, you want to help the individual expand their thinking. You want to challenge them. You want to help them even challenge and reevaluate some of the assumptions they've made, some of the perceptions they have about blockers, about things in the way, about what they can and can't do. In some of it, it's also what psychologists refer to as locus of control. So you need to help them expand their thinking throughout the process. So that's the short version of what we call the guide framework. And that's, Rebecca, how I talk about the experience of coaching when I'm out there talking to our customers, whether it's a buyer or an individual trying to understand what coaching means.
And I really like that you created a framework there that doesn't just like replicate, all the coaching frameworks and techniques and approaches, all what we already have, but puts a bigger layer on top, and also a little bit more also from a client perspective.
Yeah, and that's why I loved the research, and I like that our capabilities are to look at the client perspective, right? And what's interesting too is there's multiple client perspectives because there's the individual being coached, but there's also the organization that is hiring and bringing us in. And something I used to talk to my students about when I was at NYU is you have to be mindful of multi-party relationships. And there is two levels of impact, right, that we have to look at. The impact on the individual, and that's up to our coaches. And I trust our coaches because they are well-trained coaches. They're credentialed professionals. They understand how to do that work. But from my perspective and from BetterUp's perspective, we also have to net that together, right? And think about what is the larger impact that's being had on the organization when you look at cohorts of individuals being coached, and what does the organizational level impact look like? And that's really, really important. And it's not always easy to measure that, right? It's not always easy to capture that. But that's what I would say the profession has really evolved a lot since the COVID era. During the COVID era, there was a lot of panic buying of coaching, right? There was like, oh my God, people are freaking out. They need help, and get them someone to support them, to talk to them and help them through this time of crisis because it was unprecedented. It was confusing and frustrating and lots of things happening. As we emerged from that era, the organizations started to reevaluate what does coaching mean and how do I actually deploy coaching from a strategic perspective? How can coaching actually help the organization meet its transformation goals, its culture change, whatever we're pursuing as an organization at large? And how do we help support our people in this journey through this individual bespoke learning and development opportunity we call coaching? So it's very different now to think about. And that's why it's important. I have to take that organizational perspective as well as the coaching individual perspective. because it's important to our customers out there to understand that.
And have you solved the big question of what coaching actually is?
Oh, yeah. So, look, this is a hard one, Rebecca. It's so
sorry
hard.
for that. I'm just coming back from Boston, and what the company said on stage was very different to what the coaches said and then what they performed. Yeah. So there's no clarity there yet.
Yeah. But that's part of why I like the guide framework, because it's a generalized enough framework that helps you understand the experience of what it's like to be coached and to go through the process of coaching. Now, and it gives enough latitude for a lot of different approaches in there. So coming from Boston, I know like David Drake was there, probably talking about narrative approaches to coaching, I'm sure, right? You have the behaviorist versions of coaching, right? And you even have the sort of CBT informed cognitive behavioral therapy informed styles of coaching. Jonathan Passmore has written a lot about. So I think it leaves enough room for different approaches that a coach can adapt to make sense for the individual they're working with as they go through the process. But for us, right, when you think about what coaching is, it may be different than just coaching at large across the entire world. Like, say, ICF has 60 some thousand members. You have EMCC, and you have other bodies that really represent a really broad spectrum of coaching, right? Well-being coaching, and then you've got like sales coaching and meditative
career,
coaching.
Everything.
Wide range, right? So we're more narrow in that we're providing coaching for enterprise, for organizations. We target global 2000 companies that are looking to help people thrive and flourish in their roles in a developmental way. So there's also remedial coaching out there, which is a lot of where exec coaching was born from. We're not into that space. We're not like taking people on a performance improvement plan and trying to get them out of it, right? Or out of a job. Our focus is very much developmental. How do you get better? But also, how do you support the organization's goals? So oftentimes there may be a set of competencies or a mindset approach or set of values that matter to an organization and how you show up to support that culture. So that's important for us to think about because that's what our buyer will have in mind. But they vary, Rebecca. I mean, some prefer to take a more general approach to coaching, like Google is an example. I was on stage with one of our folks, our buyer there, a few weeks ago. They're very informed by the David Peterson approach to coaching versus some that are much more like, hey, we have a very specific use and need for this group of leaders and where we want the coaches to help get them. So it kind of depends, Rebecca, but that's why I like guide as a generalized framework to talk about what coaching is and what it means. And then we need to adapt that to what our buyers look for. But there are things we're not going to do, right? So we're not like a well-being coaching necessarily. I mean, we have that kind of offering, but it's positioned a bit differently than the general corporate work we do. And we're not like doing remedial coaching. It's not necessarily like career coaching or things like that.
So if we look at, you talked before, like you work mostly with larger organizations and those enterprise buyers, they're asking for different things as well. And let's maybe get back to that AI topic. That's what I'm mainly known for. So I'm going to pop in this AI question now. What are these enterprise buyers really asking about AI and integrating that into the coaching process right now?
There's a couple of things. One is, what are their expectations of the AI tools that we provide, right? And what do those look like? And the other side of it is, how do we help employees become more AI ready and enabled, right? So those that we're coaching. So we're seeing both sides of it here. So I'll start with just the AI tooling side. It's really interesting. Our labs team did some research and we found that 34% of employees prefer to have a human coach. 15% prefer to have an AI only coach. 51% want a combination of both. And I think as time goes on, we're seeing more and more of a leaning towards what's the right blend of human coaching and AI tooling to support the human coaching, for sure. Our data continues to show that. And what's really interesting is those that engage with our AI coaching tools, because so we have a portfolio of AI agents that can do various things like role plays, which are incredibly helpful. to be able to utilize in preparation for meetings or tough conversations.
The big topic at the moment, role plays. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I've used it for sure. And then we've got, more that kind of interact with you sort of like a coach would. And then we have some that are more like resource oriented to help you figure things out and find different resources to answer questions. What we're finding is that those who engage with our AI tools are also 30% more likely to engage with their human coach. So in other words, it's a cyclical effect, right? Is where the more I'm engaging with these AI tools, the more I'm like, oh yeah, these are helpful. And I also need my human for this. And so the differentiation to me is when you look at our guide framework, part of it is relational, right? It's understanding that the understanding the context, the getting to connect with the individual, to build that trust and the relationship. People want that, right? And they also, at 11 o'clock at night, need to get prepped for an early morning tough conversation with an underperforming employee, and their coach is not going to be available. So what do? They get on and use our AI tools to help prepare.
I would just call you.
I mean, with time zone differences, I don't know, Rebecca, you might be able to get me.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, you probably could get me. But I mean, I remember that all my years as being a coach, I had to be available at a lot of odd times and strange times and with my senior C-suite level clients. But now, if you can get that, I think it's helpful. And what we're training our coaches to do is how to be AI fluent, right? And how to understand how to use AI tools to help your clients. Because the more AI fluent you are as a coach, it gives you additional superpowers. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, Rebecca, so to speak. You live this, you know this way better than I do. But when you integrate AI into the human coaching and you really have an integrated approach, I think you get the best of both worlds. And look, we have a network of 4,000 coaches all over the globe. So I can cover any time zone, any place, almost any language. But at the same time, we still can't be available 24/7. And we know that the AI tools help with that. And also, it's a cost issue too. If I want to be able to help service every individual in a large organization of hundreds of thousands to 1 million people, we have to think about how do you scale human development and support. And so that could be at the very early stages of someone who's in a manufacturing plant in a remote island in the Pacific. We may start them with some of our AI tooling, right? Our Grow AI tools that will help them on their journey. And as they progress through their journey, there may be other different unlocks that they have with various human in the loop coaching, various human only coaching, or we have guided journeys with AI and asynchronous learning programs and tools that the coach comes in and out of, all the way to like working with an executive who has their coach one-on-one on a weekly, bi-weekly basis, right? So we truly believe that in order to service everywhere from IC to CEO, individual contributor to that C-suite executive, you need to have integrated all the different tools. AI has to be part of the conversation.
And where do you think AI in that context should be embedded in that coaching journey moving forward with what you see? And where does the human coach needs to be firmly still in the room?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, can AI help you follow a process, keep you in check, nudge you, capture information and data? Look, I always have my Gemini notes on because it helps me. I can't remember everything, right? And it keeps me, I can organize those notes. I have a Claude tool, right? At the end of the week, I can go through and it summarizes everything I've done. It'll remind me something that I missed. It's good at that. It helps me with my prioritization. I mean, those are things that a coach isn't going to be able to do. It's too labor intensive, right? So can the AI capture what happens in a conversation? Can it help you organize and keep you on track? Can it give you nudges? Can it role play with you or practice? There's lots of things that AI can do that you don't want the human doing. I remember all my years as a coach, I would like handwrite notes, then type them when I was done, then organize them and review them. That's crazy now. Like no one should be doing that anymore, right? I mean, I still handwrite stuff, which is kind of, but
oh,
yeah, I still have, I have sheets in front of me. I write because I think writing things out is a good memory aid and a way to learn. But so there's so much that's great AI tooling, and I'll never forget. We work with Martin Seligman, the famed positive psychologist. He founded the positive psychology movement. He's on our science board. We had developed an AI tool based on his body of work. And he would joke with me that he uses it every day because it remembers his work better than he does. And it organizes it better than he does. And it searches it better than he does. So think about that, right? A tool based on his work. He's like, Woody, don't ask me, ask the AI bot. It's better than I am at it.
And that's what many people are building now, locally, even with Claude. They just feed it all their knowledge, books, everything, and then they just work with that. So I'm glad Marty does that too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for years. Yeah.
And I still remember when I had my first sessions with you on the BetterUp platform for coaches learning about AI. I had a picture next to Marty Seligman that totally made my week. So.
I mean, he experiments all the time with AI.
So curious still, no?
Yeah.
It's great to see. And that's so important moving forward, keeping that curiosity going. What I get a lot from coaches, and you probably do that too, but I'm going to ask you that question because I want to hear your answer to it, is, will I still have a career as a coach in 5 years? What do you answer?
First of all, I think anyone trying to prognosticate out more than a year is
okay. Let's go in 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months to a year. I think it's a failing proposition, in my opinion. Yes, so you have to be AI enabled and AI ready, right? And I do think there's always going to be a place for a human coach. That said, you have to be really steeped in AI tooling and technology. It's changing rapidly, and so and this actually brings me to something really interesting. My team did some research on our coaches around the use of AI. So we, at the end of last year, we put together a program called our Future Ready Coaching Series. And it was designed by, on my team, Samantha Nagy and Julie Kortberg, who really dug in to figure out, okay, what do we need to do to make sure our coaches feel like they understand the tools and technologies? And one of the challenges, Rebecca, is the tools are changing so fast. It's it's almost more of a mindset that you need to train on than it is anything else. And so when they pulled together the coaches at the end, they put out, or they surveyed over 500 of our coaches who went through this program. They distilled down about 200 actual quotes, right, around AI mindsets and what's important for an AI coach. And this was across 40 countries that were represented. And they distilled down 7 specific mindsets that are critical to being an AI-ready, AI-enabled coach in the future. And this is what I believe will help inoculate you, right, from losing your job. So the 7 mindsets are adaptive curiosity, intentional presence, which is very human, right? Systems thinking, because it's, for us, remember, we're very organizationally focused. Growth mindset, no surprise there, based on Carol Dweck's work that we all know and love. Empathy, which is so uniquely human in coaching. Flexibility, and optimism. Optimism is an interesting one, right? Because
I'm like, optimism? Tell me more.
Yeah. So we've done a lot of research around AI adaptation, not just for coaches, but for employees working in organizations. And something we actually released this about a year ago, we talked about the idea of pilots versus passengers. And the pilot mindset is someone who's curious, who's courageous and adaptive and wants to learn and grow and continue to develop. They're adaptive, right? But pilots are also optimistic. So when you are pessimistic about the future, when you have that, I'm going to lose my job, AI is going to take things from me, it tends to shut down your curiosity and it diminishes your desire to want to take action or your motivation to do things for yourself. And so optimism is a really strong predictor of are you going to be adaptive? Are you going to have a future? Well, if you're optimistic and you believe you control your future or you control what you can, right? You're more likely to adapt tools and technologies and I think find your way in a future that is very, very unpredictable. None of us know what's going to happen next. I mean, just look at the world right now. I mean, it's chaotic, it's frenzied, it's frustrating, unpredictable. And so, you have to focus on controlling that which you can. And it's your own abilities to continue to find ways to better yourself.
Yeah, and focus on the things that you can influence. I really love that as well, staying just like with you. And I like the optimism side as well, because the moment we're pessimistic, and you know this as a psychologist, we go like, we can't open up with curiosity. So thank you for sharing that. That was a beautiful one.
And Rebecca, something interesting. This is something that Marty Seligman told me. And I think we talked about it actually at the NYU Summit last year when I did a video recorded interview with him. Our minds always drift to catastrophe, particularly when you're left unchecked. It's just when we're faced with a challenge, we just start to go there. We catastrophize, we can get worried, we get concerned. And he said, the role of a coach is to help you drift back towards optimism and opportunity. And it's not to swing you all the way to the other side where it may be fantasy, but it's to help pull you away from that negativity. And that's where I think the role of a coach is so incredibly important, because sometimes AI tools can kind of be a little too supportive and sycophantic and kind of help guide you on a journey towards catastrophe. Whereas I think a really well-trained coach knows how to pull you out of that. But as a well-trained coach, I think you also have to have a sense of optimism and agency yourself if you're going to be able to help others.
And spot that in yourself too. And that's the hard bit sometimes.
It is. Yeah.
You also co-authored, and let's move a little bit to the market, the Digital Coaching Revolution together with Anna Tavis. Yeah. Has the revolution, how you painted it back then, gone the way you predicted?
In some ways, yes. I mean, I think when we wrote that book, I remember it's one of the final chapters on AI. ChatGPT had just come out, right? So we didn't really just come out, right? So we didn't know a lot about like generative AI. We knew a little bit about some of the AI work that folks like yourself, Nikki Terblanche from Stellenbosch University, Joel DiGirolamo, who is leading AI research at the International Coaching Federation, who'd been years ahead of generative AI. So all this, there's a lot of work going on in AI, but it was very pre-generative kind of model command control based, right? AI. So it was different than generative. We just knew that there were going to be tools that were going to evolve rapidly, and it would be aids and helpful for the coaching profession. We saw some bots being created. I remember testing some of these different bots. You were an early creator, pre-generative AI, of coaching bots and tech. So we knew there were some things out there, but it was just so hard to know where it was going to go, right? We knew technology tends to get better, right? So we didn't know where the AI space was really going to go, but we knew that there was going to be investment and it would get enhanced. What I think was interesting that we did predict was that the large providers, the BetterUps, right, of the world, were going to evolve more towards, I think, a service orientation as opposed to just being purely tech plays, which is where a lot of the digital coaching tech started. So BetterUp was the category creator for digital coaching at scale. No question about it. And that was an incredible value during the COVID era when there was a mass need for the assistance and help of coaches. But as we came out of that era and organizations started becoming more sophisticated buyers, we, as others, have had to evolve to thinking more holistically about our approach to human development beyond just being a digital coaching platform. So we evolved to being a human transformation platform with AI tooling and technology and more services around how we strategically help and advise our customers, not just provide services. So that, I think, we've seen come true in the space. And I think there's more demand for more sophisticated levels of coaching. And of course, we believe the science would continue to get better. And it does. And you're very close to it as well. So those are things that we thought would happen. And I think they have so far. The rapid advancements of AI has just been just short of amazing.
Like you say, like if people ask me this prediction question, like, what do you think is going to happen in 2 years? I'm like, I don't even know what's going to happen in half a year. Yeah, it's just so fast. I make a prediction about the half year and I'm always surprised and it comes earlier than I think. So, and I'm usually envisioning things really well and like what's going to really change 5 years ahead. But currently is just like totally crazy out there. And I heard something at the Boston conference from the VP of Google for, I think, learning and development as well. He was saying that there's just no new normal anymore. This word does not exist because we are going to continuously live in times of uncertainty, and we somehow need to adapt because our bodies are also not made for that. Yeah, that's not me saying. It's like our whole nervous system, and Brené Brown calls it beautifully that we are actually really living beyond human scale, and that's how a lot of people feel at the moment as well.
Yeah, I mean, and Brené spoke at one of our events recently, and we do a lot of work with Brené, and
I'm still bummed you didn't invite me to your conference. I really want to meet her one day.
Well, we'll have to do it next year, Rebecca. So
next year, that's fine.
Well, when she talks about the idea of just being dysregulated, right, constantly, as you mentioned, our bodies aren't really meant to keep up with the pace today. Our brains aren't either, right? And so it's a complicated challenge. But that's why I'm still bullish on the coaching profession, because I think we need help constantly. And I think coaches are the best positioned to help humans continue to evolve and adapt to these technological advancements that are just impossible to keep up with. When you look at all these AI mandates at various companies, I think they cause panic because they're so non-specific. It's like, just adapt AI, learn to use AI, and people don't know what to do with that. And oftentimes that's where you need to rely on a coach to say, I need help. I need someone to help me figure out what I can and can't do, and just how to formulate some kind of plan, because planning helps you create a level of certainty in your life, even in uncertain times. Even if things don't go according to plan, at least you feel you have a path you can look toward.
A direction. Yeah.
A direction. Yeah. I used to work with a former Toyota exec who did a lot of work in Lean Six Sigma. And he used to tell me when he would walk into an organization, he's like, if they don't have a standard, they don't have a problem. Because if you don't know what the standard is, you know what the problem is, right? He's like, so I translate that to, if you have a path or a direction, then you have an ability to pivot or adjust. If you don't have a path or a direction, what are you adjusting to? You're just going with the wind, right? And so, that's how you create, I think, a sense of certainty. Maybe it's a false sense, I don't know, but it's some sense of certainty as to what you're trying to do. But I think you can never be too specific anymore about the future you want to pursue, because it'll change so quickly. You'll either be disappointed, confused, or you'll feel thrown off. I think you need to have more, generalized direction and adjust as you go.
Yeah, the adjusting part, I think, is one of the most important ones. Like, if we kind of look at our profession and the future, what do you think is the most important thing the coaching profession needs to do right now to earn and keep that trust of the organizations and leaders that we're actually serving in that age of AI and all the uncertainty and everything's just going too fast?
I still strongly believe we need a higher bar and a higher standard for professional credentialing of coaches. I think a higher bar and higher standard for training and programs to become a professional coach, particularly in the executive coaching world or even in the well-being coaching world. You really, I think, need a lot of extensive training on just human psychology, human behavior, on habit formation. And I think that's why I was thrilled when I went to NYU and helped to build out a master's program, because I felt so strongly that as a coach, you have someone's life in your hands, right? You're helping someone to think through really hard challenges, make tough decisions that could impact their career, their livelihood. And so we need to take that very seriously. And I think we need to continue to not just make sure coaches are AI fluent, AI enabled, but we can't lose sight of the science behind human behavior and human development and human motivation. And I think our coaches need to continue to lean into that science, which is pretty well formed and out there. I mean, we're always evolving and learning. But so I would love to see more grounding in behavioral science in the way we train and develop coaches. I think more rigor and higher standards for who can go out there and actually be a coach.
First, Nikki would love you for that now. Yeah, because that's what he's preaching as well, that we need higher standards. We need to train the coaches more on fundamentals as well in psychology and other things, because we're dealing with human beings. Yeah. And that can be a dangerous path. But I also think that what AI does currently, because AI is so good. And when I was in Boston and I asked the crowd of how many of you have had a client lately coming in and already had a conversation with AI, it was more than 2/3 of the hands going up.
Yeah.
So we better up the game of what human coaches are doing. And I think this is what is going to happen now. And hopefully will lead into like what you were saying as well, a more profound training programs, doing the human side in a more masterful way. And hopefully then also integrating the AI part. This is more my sweet spot. I guess you're on that side as well, on the human side into it. So what are your best hopes for that future?
My hopes are that we continue, the Nikki Treblanches of the world continue to preach, for science and rigor. I think I'd love to see more support and funding for coaching science out there. I'd like to see more university-based programs, more rigorous education. And I would like to see coaches really embrace education and the need to continue to upskill. There's a lot of pop psychology stuff out there that people like to read and enjoy. And some of it's good, some of it's not, some of it's sort of in between. And that's why, Rebecca, one of the things we do, we provide a lot of just training for our coaches too, because we believe that it's important. I mean, we have a whole course on just deep listening, the psychology behind deep listening, that it was actually a live program that we built that we now offer it like asynchronously as a self-paced, because we know that there are tools and techniques and science out there that's important. We try to continue to do our best to put out our science, to put it into the world, things like our guide framework, like the 7 mindsets on coaching that I shared, because we have access to large numbers of coaches and people being coached. And so we're always trying to do that ourselves. But I just want to see the profession continue to evolve and get more rigorous and really become regarded up there like you would a therapist or a psychologist or a physician, or a lawyer. I think I want to get us to those level of standards at some point. And then I would feel really, really excited, but it's a long way off.
That's a perfect way to start wrapping up our interview today. Is there anything else that you think we didn't touch yet or that you would still like to add?
Nothing specific comes to mind. I'm excited for our future. I'm excited for the profession. Of course, I'm excited for the work we're doing at BetterUp, both our research, our science, and also just the way we're impacting individuals every single day. Because, Rebecca, I got into org psychology originally because I really wanted to humanize the experience of work. Growing up, my father was a veterinarian. He owned his own practice, and he worked like day and night. It was difficult because he had to not only be a professional veterinarian and veterinary surgeon, he also had to run a business. He had to lead people. He had to do all these things that were really, really tough on him because he wasn't trained to do most of that work. And so I always saw how hard it was. And working in his hospital, I always thought there's got to be a better way. And that's what got me excited about psychology as an undergraduate student, then a graduate student. And I embarked on a journey I found coaching, and I thought that's a way to help leaders better set the right tone, to better work through people, because they have such influence in an organization and they can make or break how your day goes. Then I found NYU and the opportunity to build a program to teach coaches how to help those leaders. And then ultimately coming to BetterUp, where I can now help provide coaching services for leaders all over the world to help create healthier work environments. And that's what still excites me to this day, that original mission of humanizing the experience of work.
I love that. And that's a perfect way to just wrap up. Thank you so much for joining today and for sharing all your thoughts, your learnings, and your best wishes for the future of coaching. So thank you very much, Woody.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
At BetterUp, Woody has access to over 4 million coaching sessions, a network of 4,000 coaches, and some of the best coaching scientists in the world. And when I asked him if he'd finally solved the question what coaching actually is, he laughed. I found that strangely comforting, because maybe the question isn't whether AI can replace coaching. Maybe it's whether we've ever truly understood what coaching is in the first place. That's it for today's episode of The Edge of Human and AI, a Viva la Coaching podcast. If this conversation opened something up for you, the best thing you can do is share it. Send it to a colleague, a client, a fellow coach, anyone who's asking the same questions you are. The more of us standing at this edge, the better the conversation gets. Follow us on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. And come find us at vivalacoaching.com, where you'll find resources, community, and conversations you won't find anywhere else. We'll be back next week with another voice from the edge. Until then, come stand with us at the edge.